Hi everyone, today we're going to be working on this vanity here. It is my roommate Crystal's. Currently it is painted black, which she really likes, but the problem is that it is paint and paint does not hold up on high traffic things like vanities. So we decided we were going to stain it black instead. It didn't always look like this. Before it looked like this. We found it at a garage sale. It was $30. Crystal loved it the second she saw it, so we decided to bring it home. Clearly, it's been painted a couple times. So we decided to strip all the paint off and then paint it black. But like I said, over time the black paint hasn't held up very well, so we're staining it instead. So the paint stripper that we use is Citristrip. It doesn't smell terrible, it works really well. We apply a pretty thick coat all over. And then we let it sit, and when we come back about 45 minutes later, we started to scrape it all off. On all the appliques and details, we used a plastic bristled grout brush, and after we're done stripping, we wiped everything off with mineral spirits. We used that grout brush again, dipped in mineral spirits, to rub off the paint on those appliques and details. We did a second round of paint stripper and then a second round of mineral spirits and let it dry for a couple of days. So now it's time to talk about the drawers. As you can see, there's not wood grain on the front of them, and that is because the old veneer got destroyed, and we forgot about that until we started stripping off the paint. On the old piece, there have been these plaster appliques on the drawers, and when we removed them, it destroyed the veneer, so we puttied over it because we knew we were painting. So there's those appliques. But the problem with that is that we forgot that, and you couldn't stain the wood putty we used. And when we took the handles off, it destroyed it all anyways. That's the wood pattern.
We have to re-veneer it, I'm sorry.
That's the wood coming straight. So the only thing that we could do was re-veneer it. So to prep for that, I sanded everything down as flat as I could. And then filled in any significant holes and gaps. I checked to make sure that a veneer wouldn't overhang, and then we went and picked up this giant sheet of veneer, way more veneer than I will ever use in my entire life, but it was only $20.
Holy Nelly Picado!
The first thing I did was measured out how much I would need for the drawer fronts. I measured enough so there would be a little bit of overhang on each side. For someone that is incredibly bad at math, this was way more challenging than it probably should have been, but my roommate helped and I think it ended up going okay. I cut the veneer very carefully and very slowly with a utility knife. We used contact cement to apply it, and I stirred it really well and then applied a pretty generous coat to the drawer fronts and the back of the veneer. And we let it get tacky for about 10 minutes before I put it on. This was incredibly nerve-wracking. I smoothed it all out with a plastic scraper, starting from the middle and working outwards like the nice man at the woodworking shop told me to do. And I did this to all 4 drawer fronts, and if you look in the back there, you can see I put heavy boxes on top of the drawer fronts to hold everything down while it dried. After letting it dry for a while, I came back and used that same utility knife to cut the excess veneer off. And then I used 220 grit to sand down the edges, and honestly, I'm super excited with how it turned out. With that done, it was time to go back and finish the body of the vanity, which meant hand sanding all of it. I used 60 grit sandpaper, and I decided not to use the orbital sander on anything because I knew the wood was really fragile and I didn't want to risk ruining it. Hand sanding this took a really long time, especially because of all those details we had to sand around. While I was sanding, I noticed that damaged section there, and I figured as long as I had the veneer, I may as well try my hand at patching it. It didn't go bad, it didn't go great. I think it's something that I'll have to work on in the future, but it turned out good enough. Now I'm sanding everything with 120 grit to prep it for staining. I wiped everything down with a tack cloth to get the sawdust off. The stain we use is Varathane wood stain in ebony, and I decided to stain it by wiping it on with these wiping cloths. It worked very well. I ended up doing 2 coats of stain and then letting it dry for a couple of days before we took it inside to apply the polyurethane. The polyurethane we used was Varathane polyurethane in the clear gloss finish because Crystal likes her furniture to be very shiny. After the polyurethane dried for 24 hours, I gave it a quick sanding with 220 grit. The second coat of polyurethane we tinted it black. We did this because Crystal saw some areas that weren't as dark as she would have liked them to be, and that is a good way of fixing that. We got all the hardware from Hobby Lobby, and as you can see, they were all different colors, so we spray painted them gold. Drilling the holes for the hardware was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of doing this entire project, but it paid off because in the end it looked fantastic. Crystal is really happy with it, it matches the rest of her furniture, and I got to learn how to apply veneer, which is something I'm sure that I'll be using in the future. And that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you to Crystal for trusting me to do your entire set of bedroom furniture, and thank you for watching.